Hey, Chris Lotz with the Pat Lotz Real Estate Group, coming to you with another episode of Beyond the Keys, a Pat Lotz podcast. Thanks for tuning in. As always, subscribe, like, comment. We're going back through more real estate market statistics, just to kind of get a better idea of what's happening within trends, what's happening within agents, to be as competitive as possible for us, for other agents, but then also buyers and sellers. And then take these stats for your buyers and sellers, and or take these for you as an agent, just to be
interesting information. Yeah, I find it interesting in our field.
There are approximately 120 million occupied housing units by renters and owners in the United States. Interesting. There's 350 million Americans. 350 million Americans. Divided by 2, 175 if they're assuming they're couples. So I guess that would make sense. And then also 2, take away dependents. But there are approximately 120 million occupied housing units by renters and owners in the United States of America. And that number is probably low as well, because we haven't been building homes for the past 7 years.
Yeah.
And they say that we're 1 million homes short, which still doesn't make that big of a difference, 121 million. But we are a huge shortage of housing based on us not building from 2009 to today.
Right, and then, the building that's going on now is backlogged, a year or two.
Months, years, supply chain issues, so on and so forth. But that's interesting, 120 million occupied housing units. I wonder how many, our population in Livingston County is 190,000. I wonder how many occupied housing units we have. You think half, 100,000?
Well, yeah, but I think it's good information. It'd be fun to zero in on some of that and grab those stats.
Yeah.
That's something we'll do.
Which relates to exactly what we were just talking about within agents, National Association metrics, population growth in certain states. But, we have 190,000 people in Livingston County. And in Oakland County, I think there's 900,000. And I think in Wayne County, there's 1.6 million. So to see how small we are as a county, but then still how competitive it's becoming, or the amount of agents that have come into the business over the past 2 years, it's interesting to see. Because when there's only 100,000 homes up for grab in the county, how many of those were sold in the past 2 years based on interest rates? And then we'll never see those homes come up again in the next 30 years based on somebody having 2.5 interest rate. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So how many homes did we sell in the past 2 years? In the county, you think?
How many did we?
Yeah, no, in general. In Livingston County, how many homes were sold in the past 2 years?
Oh, I don't know.
10,000?
I don't know.
20,000?
We have to check those stats.
Yeah. That'd be the interesting thing to see too, because again, I think that those homes that have been sold, we will not see come up on the market for the next 20 years.
We'll see.
What do you think?
Based on the interest rates.
If you have a house for 2.5, are you going to sell your house?
Probably not, but people move based on some other factors. They have to move for work. I mean, the majority of them will not. But life changes and needs change. So
they say the average mortgage is held for 7 years.
Yeah.
So I guess statistically, we're going to see those homes come up for sale again, but the ones that don't, that'd be the crazier statistic to see, is it's going to be that much harder for somebody to sell a house based on that interest rate, depending on what they're selling, what they'd be buying for.
Right.
And yeah, it'd be interesting to see that. In the second quarter of 2022, the median asking rent for vacant units was $1,314.
That sounds
Not
about
surprised
right.
with that. Sounds very average.
Yeah.
And that's taking into consideration rural America to San Francisco and New York. That's roughly what we have our units for. So, and our units are very average, I would say, compared to across the nation. That makes sense. How many rentals did you have at one point?
I mean, over the years, we've always had Dexter. I've had 3 at one time.
What did they rent for?
Low.
What's Dexter at right now?
One of the units I think is $1,500 and the other one's $1,300. But
Dexter?
yeah,
What's the living?
I think it's $1,300.
Okay, maybe that's probably fair. I thought it was closer to 1,000, which I thought that rents were a little low at Dexter too.
Yeah, no, I think $1,300.
92% of homes sold in the U.S. in 2021 were sold using an agent or a broker.
Yeah.
Not surprised by that.
Yeah. No.
People, the for sale by owners or the FSBOs or the FSBOs, I think it's such a small percentage. 8%. Roughly 8%, maybe even smaller, maybe 5%. But a lot of people understand, I think, the value of a real estate agent, but then also too the statistics of netting more money within certain presentations. By listing with an agent or doing for sale by owner, you can make more and cover your commissions, even and net more than you would have sold by yourself.
Yeah.
And you're doing less of the work.
Yeah, people just don't know. And I will have to say that 8% typically for sale by owners usually sell for financial reasons or emotional reasons. So, so go figure.
Yeah.
But also if they don't typically sell within the first 30 days, then they hire an agent.
Mm-hmm. The average listing price for a home in the U.S. has risen more than 14% year over year to $416. Not surprised by that. Our average sale price, which we have a very, not low average sale price, but we were on a coaching call the other day, and this young guy, he's been doing it for 12 years, but still young guy, 45, 46, something like that. 10 deals a year, and his average sale price is like 5.6, 4 million. So he'll do $36 million in 2022 by selling 9 to 10 homes. Mm-hmm. That's pretty crazy.
That's really crazy.
And we'll do 80 some homes, and our average sale price is probably $375. And we'll do the same amount of numbers. But, I think it comes down to, how many hours they're putting in for those clients, how long the searches are, how long those sales are, days on market. I think that's the equalizer. Is most likely it's the same amount of work, but we're just doing more units.
Yeah.
But it's the same amount of time hours, so on and so
and
forth.
it's his niche. That's that niche is different.
Location.
Yeah.
He said it inch by a mile. So when you look at his recent sales, it's literally 3 neighborhoods in a 2 square mile. And that's where all those that's all where those 100 homes over the past 12 years have been sold in. But that's his niche. That's his market.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's no different than us. We have our niche, we have our market, but ours has that broader radius based on just location.
Right.
A little bit more of a rural community. The median sales price for a home in the United States in 2022 has increased by 781% since 1980.
Ooh, that's a big number. That's interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense. 1980. What were homes selling in 1980?
Oh, geez, for nothing.
I think that's the biggest thing right now too. And all these guys are talking about it is, median sales price of a home to 2022 since 1980 has increased 781%. And interest rates are the same percentage as they were in the 80s and the 90s. 6, 7, 8%.
Right.
But in your median sales price home is obviously 781% less.
Well, we bought our first house in 1987, I think. And it was on the Huron River. We bought it for $65,000.
And what would it sell for today? 3,
Well,
4?
Right now, it'd probably sell for, we remodeled it and put an addition on, but it'd be a $400,000 house.
See, and that makes sense. And that's the biggest takeaway too, is people are talking about interest rates based on time periods, which again, it's relative and there's still good affordability there. We have slowed down because of interest rates, and maybe it's what is more normal or what the median is for interest rates. But when you compare home prices back to the 1980s, so you're talking about sale price and interest rates, then today is sales price and interest rates. So there's a huge discrepancy on that, and I think that's the biggest pivotal moment of affordability. And then 2, what might happen in 2023 for sales. I think that interest rate might come down a little bit too at the end of the day, which will help those sales to make homes more affordable, to adjust that scale to what things were back in the 1980s to today. I don't know, just my thought. A lot of big guys are talking about that stuff though too, about, we're stabilizing, but a lot of those guys believe that they have gone beyond what should have been the stable to cost of living, income, so on and so forth. But we'll see. Time will tell. I think we're at the end of the day, we're still listing houses, we're still buying houses. That's all that matters.
It's still gonna be happening.
U.S. homes spent a median of 14 days on market in June 2022, down 3 from 17 days in June 2021.
What a riot.
Things were selling fast. We've now gone up. So average days on markets, I believe, are probably closer to 30 to 45, which is fairly normal. And I think that's the hardest part for sellers right now too, is what it was to what it is today. But what it is today is still very, very normal and very good and very realistic and decent timelines. So calm down. It'll be okay. Keep them very realistic on those timelines and you should be good to go.
Yep.
In June 2022, let's go back to that. What are you telling sellers? We have a few homes that are kind of sitting on the market for different reasons, but what are you telling sellers to kind of calm their nerves, but then also think big picture, which all of them are very calm and are making some changes based on what we're saying, but what are you telling these people?
Well, I'm saying there's a couple of factors why things are longer on market. It's the time of year here in Michigan, number one. Number two, the inflation and the interest rates have impacted us. But what I'm telling them is we're not like we were 6 months ago. And we've got to take the pulse of the market on a daily, weekly basis. And it's based on activity, feedback, and some of my folks haven't been able to wrap their head around the pricing have come down. Their neighborhood sold for $600. I should at least get $550, and I'm going. It's going to be more than that, And we've got to. So if we're not getting things done within 30 to 45 days, we've got to decide. Okay, how are we going to tackle this? Are we going to make price reduction? Do you want to take it off the market and put it back up in the spring, which, we might have a better buyer pool, bigger buyer pool, and where the interest rates are. So it's all based on their motivation.
Yeah.
And actually, their motivation is not that they just have to sell the house. They would like to try and get the most they can, and they're feeling that this is it. But I know what's going to happen is we're going to have to make a price adjustment.
Yeah. But then also too, keeping expectations very realistic up front, which you do. Letting them know this is where I think we're at, this is where I think we might land. There's a different strategy if we price a little bit too high. You got to be comfortable with what you're selling for at the end of the day. And we're always very realistic on those timelines and expectations. And we believe that our model of price a little bit low, below market value, drive demand and get more people in the doors and get multiple offers is going to be the recipe for success right now. And someone was talking about the other day, when you see these average days on market, 30 to 45, 45 plus, 70, 80, 90, 100, whatever they might be, right now it's so important to price your home based on data and statistics.
Yeah.
Because we're still selling houses within a few days, but it's because they're priced appropriately.
Exactly. So remember, look in to see what your competition is. So where's our competition pricing? Are they selling? If they're not, what's pending? You gotta be, you gotta shine. And again, it's going to be price, presentation, condition.
Did you think that those two that are sitting on the market for us right now, do you think that those are priced appropriately? Is it a seasonal thing, or do you wish we would have priced them a little bit lower to drive that demand? And those more or less might have been seller-driven prices, but... Well,
I did go in and say that I feel that we should have started out of the gate at, $550, and... she said, well, I got her from $600 to $575. I said, we really should start here. And this was, probably 60 days ago. And I'm sort of going, do you remember I told you that? So
yeah, that's not even it's not even a throw it in somebody's face by any means. It's a keeping them. It's no different than when you go into a listing appointment or a buyer appointment. Getting expectations and goals. Do you remember that you said, you were looking for a house in this location for $200,000, this square footage, this bed and bath? What else are we looking for? We found that, And we don't necessarily need to buy this home, but what are we still looking for? Is it acreage? Is it privacy? Is it a different neighborhood feel? Is it different school districts? But it's keeping those sellers or buyers thinking about goals, expectations to keep that bus moving forward.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest difference, is they might be in tune to their house might be overpriced, or not getting the activity they want, or not selling what they want. But how are we going to take that information and move forward to ultimately sell your home? And it comes down to two things, or maybe really just one thing, is time. Do we have the time to stay on the market? Do you have the time to not want to sell this thing? But if you need to sell this thing and we want to sell this thing, then we need to make some of those changes.
Right.
And then seasonality might have the biggest impact as well. Maybe we do just take it off. Do you have time? If you don't need to sell it today, then maybe we do just take it off when we list it February 15th, March 1st, first thing in the spring, and see what happens from there.
Yeah.
Because is there going to be a lot that changes for better or worse? I have no idea. For worse, I don't know. For better, we are expected to see maybe rates continue to drop marginally, but are rates better, which drives more buyer demand in the spring? We'll see.
Right. I mean, and our buyer pools are smaller, at this particular time, and we're heading into the holidays. I mean, we just out of Thanksgiving and people, a lot of times, hey, if you're stressed out and you don't have to sell, let's just take it off. So that's my thought. But
I also think there's still opportunities right now. So on the buy side of things, like I would never pump the brakes for a buyer, period.
No.
Because I think that there's opportunities right now because of interest rates, because of the holidays, so on and so forth. There might be better opportunities for us to capitalize on some homes below fair market value. And that's a great transition point to the next stat, which this kind of blows my mind. In June 2022, more than 50% of homes in the US sold below list price, and indications that the market is slowing down. In June, we were still hot. And does that mean for the rest of the country they were still hot in June 2022? I would think that would be the other way around. 95% of homes sold for, over list price.
That's interesting. Yeah, I guess when you just sort of put all the numbers together and how it shakes down, but I think that is in June. 55% of homes sold below list price. Yeah, I find that hard to believe. It wasn't really here.
Right now, December 2022,
yeah,
maybe even more.
Yeah.
70% of homes sold below list price. Maybe not. I would kind of see like that 55%, that 50%. But back in June, I would be surprised to see that statistic. So crazy to think about. But then also too, that goes back to pricing your home fairly based on data is the only strategy that you need to be going with. And honestly, if your agent right now is saying, let's continue to test the market, let's try to push the limit, I don't believe that's the best strategy. If you've got time, if you're okay with price reductions, and then I'd like to see the statistics though too, which I believe pricing a little bit below fair market value and driving buzz, you're gonna be able to net more versus pricing high and backing down. Then you're gonna get one offer below list price. Could you have capitalized in a better market for more money than that?
Well, sure.
The answer probably is yes.
Sure. And again, we're still, again, taking the pulse of the market. And when we're seeing in our communities that if it's on the market more than 30, 45 days, then we still feel it's a pricing issue, that they just, they're not where it needs to be.
Yeah.
So.
We'll kind of bunch these next few together, which again, huge push for 2020 and 2021. And, money was getting cheaper. Inflation was at an all-time low. People were making money. There was less unemployment, so rates were going down. But at one point in time, interest rates in 2021 have never been lower at 2.65%. It's crazy. The Fed had 0% interest for banks, and then that's what banks were lending on, 2.65%.
Crazy.
Dirt cheap cash.
Yeah.
Between March 3rd and June 21st, 2022, interest rates jumped. So in a 3-month span, roughly 4-month span, rates jumped from 3.76 to 5.8. And right now, banks are lending at, and I don't know if that's Fed or if that's what banks are lending at. And obviously June 2022 is a little bit different than December 2022.
Right.
Because right now it's 6.5, but that's crazy over 3 months, 4 months, or just in between those 3 months, a 2% jump.
Yeah.
Which is a big reason for why we're slowing. Granted, a lot of the people within the market, at least on the buy side, it really cut down on qualified buyers. so the qualified buyers stood out in that, which it could be a good thing for sellers and could be a good thing for agents as well. Is a lot of people in an affordability standpoint were weeded out, for better or worse. I don't know. What are your thoughts on either of those? What was the highest you've seen?
In my day?
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen 12%, but I do want you to know I still feel that it's still good interest.
Even
so
at 8%.
It doesn't freak me out.
Yeah, at 8%, I still, if the numbers make sense and you're
Yeah.
okay with that, it doesn't make the decision easier, it makes it harder.
Well,
But at the end of the day, if you need to buy a house,
Yeah.
or you're looking for investment properties, and if the numbers make sense and you're okay with that purchase price, then it still makes sense.
Well, the thing is that when you serve, a 2.65 interest rate to a buyer and they're looking and they don't find anything that was very competitive, and then they have to swallow a 6.5 when they saw their buying power go down, that's a hard, pill to swallow.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing there.
I don't know if this is factual, but we've seen a lot of graphs recently, at a buyer that was qualified 6 months ago at 3% for $500,000.
Yeah.
The same mortgage price is now down to $300,000.
Mm-hmm.
So can they still afford that $500,000? Probably. But the affordability factor of a 3 to 2% rate difference, $200,000.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Millennials reign as the largest buying generational group, purchasing nearly 1 out of every 5 houses that are sold in 2022 so far.
Sure.
Makes sense to me. A lot of first-time home buyers, a lot of young millennials, and even a younger generation that are consistently always looking to buy houses. And granted, I think that's true because boomers, I think they see interest rates, and for them, they understand the difference. And they've seen the difference, and they
Right.
live the difference, where these first-time home buyers, they only know what they know. But then also back to affordability, millennials are the first time ever, have been renters for years. So first-time home buyers can be 40 years old, a 40-year-old millennial, or a 35-year-old millennial, never buying a house in their life, but because of student loans, car payments, making more money now at this point in their lives, they're able to take that step into owning a house. And then granted too, major metro areas. Maybe they came from the LAs, the New Yorks, and they're moving to rural communities. And now at that point in time, it makes more sense to buy a house.
Yep. Yep.
I saw something recently too that 75% of millennials are buying homes for one reason. Do you know what that reason is?
No.
Dogs. Yeah. And then two, I think millennials are changing.
I was going to say kids, but I guess not.
No, yeah, that are changing HOA bylaws and master deeds to accommodate to dogs to build fences. So there's a lot of differences or changings in the market. Interest rates, median home prices, affordability within markets for better. I think people right now can afford a lot more homes than they could even 10 years ago based on what these people are making.
Well, sure. And, nowadays first-time home buyers are spending $350,000 for a first-time home, not $150,000.
Yeah, back then it was $180,000 for a first-time home.
Yeah, so now, we've got these young people, but, my first house was $350,000. Mine was $65,000, so.
And I don't know what a Gen Xer is, made up the largest share of home sellers at 24%. And you might be close to the Gen Xer or below or above you. But that makes sense. A lot of generational homes, these homes that were built in the 90s and now are being sold to these young millennials that maybe don't need these bigger houses, but they're going to grow in with their family. That's who's buying those homes. So a lot of downsizing into condos or smaller homes that just fit their needs a little bit more.
Yep, or downsizing, selling to get closer to family in other states.
Yeah.
So
I kind of tell this every once in a while to maybe an older demographic of, I had this couple that was looking at condos and they said, oh yeah, we're hanging on to this house because our grandkids love to fish. And I go, oh cool. How often are they coming over? They said, oh, once a year. About that, I go, that's not enough to hang on to this house. I go, where are the grandkids at? They said North Carolina, Chicago, and Florida. And I said, move to one of those states. That's awesome. That would be awesome.
Take them fishing every week.
They ended up selling their house and moving to North Carolina. So not too many times do agents talk people out of buying houses, but I think it's about us giving just good perspective and consulting them into what the better decision might be for them. And those people said, you're right. I need to live closer to my grandkids.
I know. Very cool.
Last stat, the total number of homes sold in 2021 was up more than 6%, makes sense, interest rates, to 6.9, 2020 to 6.9 million. So in 2020, 6.9 million homes sold nationwide.
Wow.
That's nearly 17% more than 2019.
Wow.
Which again, interest rates. Even during COVID, there was a mass amount of change in real estate and ownership, just based on that one thing alone.
Yeah.
So
amazing.
Anything that jumps out to you on either of these pages? Are you surprised by all these things? What are you going to do to take these to help better yourself in 2023? Any of these?
Well, I think that this is always just great information, but I think too, taking a look at this data, that more in our communities.
Yeah.
But our
that's what I was
target
gonna.
market.
That's what I was gonna say is millennials 1 out of 5, and Gen Xers largest share of home sellers in 2024. I think it's about marketing to those two generations as buying and then selling, and really narrowing in on our target market to who should be selling in the next few months based on a Gen Xer who's just below that, and then 2 millennials or just below millennials, marketing to them as the industry leader in our community for first-time homebuyers.
Absolutely.
That's what we should be taking away from that.
Yep.
So,
Good
and
stuff.
apply that to your market as well. Like that statistic is, these stats are nationwide. If you're in Florida, if you're in Texas, people are still moving from the Californias, New Yorks, the Midwest to be to those communities for politics, taxes, work from home, remotes, whatever, warmer weather. So take these statistics. Maybe you should be marketing towards people in Michigan that are coming to Florida, or just even networking within communities from agents that are in Michigan with agents down in Florida. And maybe we should be doing that as well. There could be a huge opportunity for referrals to create those relationships, so it's an easier transition down for them, and more of a business and opportunity for us. Something to think about.
Yeah, sure.
So again, thanks for tuning in for another episode of Beyond the Keys of Pat Lotz podcast. As always, Chris Lotz.
Pat Lotz.
And there's lots to love in Livingston County. Live local, use local, buy local. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to use those like, comment, and share buttons below. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Pat Lotz Real Estate for more helpful home buying and selling tips. Want a free comparable market analysis? Scan that QR code on your screen or visit our website at www.patlotz.com and fill out the request form. There's lots to love in Livingston County.